Alright, so good evening, everybody. Sitting here in Statesville, North Carolina. Tried dropping off tonight, but the place wasn't open. Couldn't find a single peep of anything alive down there. So I'm down the road a couple miles at a Love's. Drop off tomorrow morning, scheduled for 6:30. So now I'm just sitting here, wasting a little time. Figured I was going through some comments, so I figured I'd answer some of these questions on a few of these comments that I came across tonight. So bear with me and I'll answer these the best that I can. Alright, the first one basically asks, how many miles a day do you drive on average? Now, it's tough to say on average how many. I mean, because if you take and put an average to it, it's not going to adequately depict how many miles you'll probably drive in a day. Because in a 7-day period, say I'm averaging 2,200 miles in that 7-day period. So obviously that's an average of a little over 300 miles a day. That's on average. So it's like, oh, I could do 300 miles a day. Yeah, that sounds easy enough, 5-6 hours of driving. But what it actually is, it's usually 4 days for 2,300 miles. So it's roughly more on average, probably around that between 500 and 600 as far as what you're averaging on the days you're working. Sometimes you might get all of those miles in 2 loads. So it might be 3 days that you do that. So it's hard to give you an exact average, a precise average. So I hope that answered it somewhat. I know that didn't answer specifically, but that's the best I can tell you, is that for me personally, I drive usually roughly around 110,000 miles or more loaded per year, and that's the equivalent of somewhere around 2,000, 2,300, somewhere in that neighborhood, per week, which averages you out about, 400 miles, 300 miles a day on average. But as I said, it doesn't adequately depict how you will drive some days, because some days you will drive 1,000 miles. Another day you may drive no miles. Another day you may only have a 400 mile run or a 200 mile run. So it just depends on why you're asking that question, what you're trying to get an idea of. So hopefully I kind of covered all of that shit with all that rambling I just did. So let me go ahead and get to the next one. Saying he has a speeding ticket on his record and wanting to know if that will prevent him from getting a job in expediting. The biggest thing about that speeding ticket, one, is how recent it was, and two, how many miles over the speed limit was it? Because there are some carriers that if you get a speeding ticket more than 10 miles an hour over, they will drop you. Like, it's automatic dismissal, termination of contract, goodbye, sayonara, later, kick rocks. So that's going to be the determining factor on the speeding ticket, how much of an effect it's going to have on getting you hired somewhere. Just the general 5-6 miles an hour over the speed limit, one ticket, no matter how recent, usually isn't going to be a big deal. Obviously, the older it is, the better it is, and in general, it's a 3 to 5 year period that they're looking into your driving record. You might as well count on 5, that way you're safe, and you're not like, oh, you said 3 years. 3 to 5, that's what they'll tell you. But again, it's not surprising when they come up with something that's 4.5 years old. So that's how that works. Who is that? Roddy Rodriguez asking about sole proprietorship or an LLC. Alright, which way is the best way to go? This isn't my expertise here. I don't try to pretend to be. LLC or sole proprietorship. My basic understanding is it doesn't really matter either way, especially as just a single And as far as you being an individual, being an owner-op, it's not really going to protect you in any way. Now, I think I've touched on this before. My basic understanding of like getting an LLC or being a sole proprietorship, getting an LLC, if your plans down the road are to try to get business credit of some sort, and you're trying to build your brand or build your business, and you're trying to build credit and equity into the business itself, the earlier you get an LLC or incorporate or whatever you want to do, the better would be my answer to that. Again, others might be saying, "Oh, dude, he's totally off." So again, this isn't my expertise. I actually have an LLC, and I haven't even used it yet for anything. I haven't ran anything through it. I need to, because the LLC will help protect me with my other 2 vans. Now, the one I drive, it won't protect me because, if I'm doing it through my business LLC, it won't protect me because it's me as an individual that's behind the wheel, so they can come after me anyhow. Tax-wise, it's really not going to make a difference either, because your taxes can be done the same as an LLC or a sole proprietor. So there's really not much difference there that I'm aware of. Again, my basic understanding of this. Again, I'm no expert on this, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but this is my general understanding. So, as confusing and unhelpful as that was, that's the answer. Okay. Johnny Flores. He says, when purchasing a van, how many miles is too many miles? He has a 2-part question. Second part is, can I get away with a medium roof as opposed to a high roof? And he says he's looking into a T250, a Ford Transit 250. Alright, the first part of this. How many miles is too many? Most of these vans, and specifically the Ford, you're kind of running into most of the problems that you see overall around 250,000 miles. So you can say that you're looking at it at 250,000 miles is the life cycle, although you're going to get more, but just say to where you're going to start having problems. So what's acceptable to you? 125,000, and that gives you basically another 125 you're hoping to get out of it before the problems start. Me personally, I'm trying to find used vehicles. I'm trying to stay under that. I'm trying to stay under the 36,000 miles, I think is what it is for the bumper-to-bumper warranty. So I'm trying to be under that 36,000 so that I still have a little bit of warranty left. And obviously, the more miles on a van, the longer somebody's driven it, the longer somebody has treated it a certain way. So unless you are 100% comfortable and confident that the person that drove it, took care of it well, then obviously that's going to change how many miles you're willing to tolerate on a van. So it's just kind of common sense. Obviously, the more miles on it, the more it's been used and abused, and how abusive were they to that vehicle. And as I said, the lower the miles, again, try to be in that bumper-to-bumper warranty still. And the thing about that is that you're not really losing a lot of the equity. I shouldn't say equity, but you're really not losing a lot of the value from the time you take it off the lot until you get up to, say, 75,000 miles. I mean, yes, some more prices coming off, but again, how much risk are you taking? So it's really just trying to get that first $5,000 to $7,000 that's going to come off of that van, more than likely, just by taking it off the lot. So that's really the thing. It's hard to swallow that brand new price. So again, the mileage is up to the individual. How confident are you in your ability to judge how well a vehicle's been taken care of? Aside from that, again, the less miles, the better, obviously. As far as a medium roof, okay. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to kind of touch on something about this here, because a lot of people want to do cargo vans, and I get it. Cargo vans are cheap. They're easier to come by. They're cheaper. They're easier to maintain. You can make money with a cargo van, a low-top cargo van. You can make money with a medium-roof van. The only reason, me specifically, I say that you want the longest, tallest is because you live in it. I mean, that's like this van here. I mean, I can stand up in it. I can move around. I don't feel crouched. I wanted to talk on this subject a little bit when I was next to my Econoline, because I kind of wanted to do a video of what it's like to move around in a cargo van always hunched over. I'm 6 foot. I'm a big guy, obviously, so moving around hunched over all the time at 6 foot just isn't that comfortable, as opposed to being able to move freely in this. That's you know, I don't have to hunch over or anything at all. So that's the biggest thing about getting the longest and tallest is your living quarters. I mean, you're living in this thing. You know, in a cargo van, you get 2 skids. You could probably squeeze yourself, if you're a smaller person, you could squeeze yourself in there somewhere to find some sleeping area. Whereas in this, 2 skids, still got plenty of room to move around a little bit here. Got my bunk still laid out, nice and comfortable. I'm good to go. Now, the other part of that is, obviously, longer and taller, you are open to more freight. You have a larger capacity, so you have a larger opportunity for freight. Like with my brother, him trying to dispatch and find freight for a small cargo, my cargo van, and for one of the drivers that has a limited capacity lengthwise in his van. It's a lot more difficult on the dispatcher to find you freight, because the dims are just, it's easier for these people when they put the stuff out there to ask for a Sprinter van. They want the larger stuff, and that just is what it is. It's more difficult to find freight for the smaller cargo vans or 2 skidders. Not that it ain't out there. It's out there. It's definitely out there. I'm not saying you cannot make a living off of it. I'm not saying that you can't, you know, make money. That's not what I'm saying. You definitely can. Like I said, I make solid money with my cargo van. It's just a matter of, it's easier to make money with the larger capacity, and it's easier to live on the road with a larger capacity, you know, larger area to live in. So that's the thing about that. And as far as the 250s are fine, because you can even find the 250s in the long and tall, and you're just losing roughly around 500-pound payload. As far as that's really the only difference is the suspension that's in the rear, and the couple of steel plates, I think they say, or it's one long steel plate, but it's just basically the suspension of the rear end is the major difference. Other than that, length is the same, height is the same, everything else about it's the same. It's just that suspension. What kind of background will stop you from getting into expediting? Felony ? DWI ? I have both, he says. One person replied, serial killer. And then somebody else replied, well, I guess you can count me out. So, we got a serial killer out there trying to find an expediting job, guys, so be leery. DWI. Again, how old is the DWI? If it's recent, yeah, chances are it's going to be extremely difficult. You probably could still find somebody that'll take you, but you may not be. See, I'm always hesitant to answer certain questions because everybody's different, man. Like, some people just so badly want to get a job out here, and they'll deal with the shittiest carrier or fleet owner they have to deal with just to get their foot in the door. So, because I was going to say, you know, if you find somebody that'll take you with a DWI, you probably won't be happy. But you never know. If you want this bad enough, I mean, you may be willing to, you know, deal with that crap until you've gotten distanced enough from that DWI to get yourself on some more even footing and kind of prove yourself and you know, validate you being in the industry at that point. So that's up to the individual. But yeah, I believe that you can find somebody that will take you if you try hard enough. And yeah, the majority of them are going to turn you down with the recent DWI, but there unfortunately is going to be somebody in there that will take a chance on it. When I say unfortunately, because the problem is somebody that's got a recent DWI, the chances are, the odds are that that's not somebody you want to employ. That's not to say that's not the case for all of them. Like I said, people make mistakes. I get it. I've been there, done that, so I get that. But it's just the odds are against it, so that's why I say unfortunately. If you're the type it's going to work out great, hopefully you find it and hopefully it works out. Felony. I have felonies. I've never really, I don't know if I've ever really talked directly about it, but yes, I've got some felonies on my record. I actually have some asshole out there that tries to give me shit about it. He tries to put it out there that I still do what my felonies were for. He tries to make it out to be that I'm still doing those things, and it's a little frustrating. I'm going to get into that stuff in another video when I get everything together that I need to get up and prepared for that asshole. Yeah, asshole. And if he's watching, you're an asshole. Felony. Again, how recent were the felonies? What is the felony? And it kind of goes with the DWI. Somebody out there will give you a shot no matter what your felony is. That's, again, the unfortunate side of this industry if you look at it from the perspective of the majority of the people with felonies and really bad felonies, continue to offend. I mean, that's just recidivism is very high, obviously, so the odds of somebody that's been incarcerated or has a felony to reoffend is very high. So that's the unfortunate side. So that's why I say that. I've definitely seen all kinds of different as far as felony charges that people have in their expediting. So don't let that get you down. Keep trying. Again, I don't know what how much your desire is to get out here and do expediting. I know what mine was, and I did what I needed to do. I got into the industry, and I've tried to make the best of it since I've done it, because I love it. I mean, I knew I would love it. I knew I wanted to be on the road. So not everybody knows what they really want. A lot of people think they know. They get out here, and then they know that this wasn't it. But without getting too far off of that, so if you want, you know who put this comment out there. If you're watching, you can hit me up. My email is in the description, and we can see what we can do for you. Obviously, you get in touch with me and you got some shitty-ass felony. I mean, I'm not going to try to help you, but, if it's something that's, understandable, like the story jives and everything, I mean, I'll do what I can to lead you in the right direction. So, all right, that's that. Let's go to the next. All right, so the question is, how do I protect my wheel wells from freight inside the van? This person says theirs are already smashed up and they just bought the van. Shake my head. For one, this van in particular has these plastic covers, which does help a little bit. But my other van, it doesn't have the covers, and those wheel wells aren't too nicked up. Me personally, the best way to protect them is people put like the 2x4s or 2x6s, I believe it is, or 2x8s, whichever, down the insides of the wheel wells, going down the interior of the van. Now, obviously, that's going to shrink your capacity width-wise, but not to the extent that you're gonna be shit out of luck. But that is the safest way. One guy has some like plated aluminum, so that's thinner. That doesn't take up as much of your space, and he's got those running down there. So whatever you can do to run along the insides of the wheel wells is obviously going to be the best protection you can have. Me personally, I don't have those. What I do is I do my best to watch the tow motor driver putting the freight in, and just like if I have multiple skids, that's where you usually have the problem. If they're putting in one skid, they're usually pretty good, but you still have to keep an eye on them. they're putting in a second and third, that's where you start running into stuff. So I come to the side door, I watch as they're pushing it in, and that freight, no matter how heavy that freight is, while they're pushing, if you just pull or push on the freight, you can steer the freight. So I just do my best to steer the freight. If it looks like it's, when he put the first one in, it's kind of off center, I kind of know, like, hey, I need to go watch this one, so I'm going to jump up here and I'm going to watch what he's doing, and I'm going to guide the freight where it needs to be. I'm going to steer it in the direction it needs to go. Same thing with pulling it out. You get to the second and third skid, especially some of these tow motor drivers, they are not trying to be perfectly straight with it. So the strap, I stand at the mast, and some people's going to say it's unsafe. It is unsafe, to be honest. A lot of the stuff we do is unsafe when you break it all the way down to its simplest form. Yes, that strap could break and do some damage, but I'm counting on the strap doing its job and me having enough awareness to understand if this, my strap is failing or not, and I'll get out of the way. But anyhow, when they're pulling this freight out, same thing. The strap is attached to the mast, and I'm using my other hand, and I'm like, if you pull it, again, you pull it, push it, you're going to be able to steer that freight coming out of the van to where they don't bang this or bang that. So that's what I do, and that's kept my wheel wells pretty clean. Alright, this was an interesting one. The question is, how do you know what carriers operate better in certain areas? And he asks, should I just call and ask, or are they just going to lie? Because I've mentioned before, doing multi-carrier, I'd want to try to find a broker that's strong in a certain area. There's really... Yes, you can call and ask them. And if they're really being honest with you, they'll even let you get in contact with the driver that they have, a driver or two, and you can talk to the driver. But ideally, you're going to find out by just talking to drivers in general throughout your experiences in your career doing this. Is you just talk to the drivers and you watch Facebook posts or videos or whatever it may be. That's basically how I've come across it. It's just by networking with these people and talking to them and just having conversations. So and I can think of a few of them right offhand. I mean, there was a guy in Wisconsin. He always got really great rates coming out of Wisconsin, but his company couldn't get him back. So that would have been one. The guy I was just talking about the other day in Colorado, the guy that's up in Washington State or Oregon. Those are like our dead zones. Wisconsin isn't, but Wisconsin would be a good one to have, even though you're up there. But yeah, it's just been through networking and listening. I mean, not everybody wants to listen. Most people just want to talk, and they'll hear your voice, but they're not really listening to what they're saying. And that's what you got to do. You have to listen to people, hear the stuff they're not even trying to tell you sometimes. As I said, even people that are trying to bullshit you, if you listen long enough and let them talk long enough, they'll tell on themselves, and they'll tell you the truth about a situation down, later in the conversation that they didn't mean to say. Make sure you don't bring it up to them. Just let it go. Let them continue to talk. They'll say something else that verifies the same thing that you just heard. But network and talk with drivers. That's the best advice I can give on that. All right, this one. Based on the experience you have and knowing the prices for freight, how much money can I make, in parentheses, per week or per day by doing intrastate deliveries or deliveries to neighbor states, which will not require me to sleep on the road and be at home every night? Home location is North Ohio. Now, how much you can make, really, it's the same as in doing what I'm doing. It's just depending on the contacts you make, the company you find. It's like Dell, courier driving with Big D. He's with a good courier company, and he's got the experience, which has led him to a good courier company, and he's put himself together some good routes to make good money in doing his courier work. He's home every night. He's home throughout the week. He doesn't have to be gone over the road anymore. It's the same thing with everybody in their areas. It's about, again, it's kind of a running joke, but it's also true. How much hustle do you have?
Your hustle got to be strong in this industry, as in any other industry.
Are you going to go out there and just pay attention to all these courier companies, research them? Are you going to go out there and start knocking on doors? Get your own authority, knock on doors? How are you going to do it? How much effort are you willing to put into this? If you're just thinking, hey, Alan, direct me in the one place that I can go to and make this money and be home I can't do that. I can't do that with anybody, because just like with where I'm at with Barrett, I can bring somebody to Barrett, but if they don't have the same work ethic or the same understanding, or I shouldn't say understanding, but the same ideas that I do, Barrett may not be the right fit for them. But to me, it's perfect. So I can't just send you in the right place. So it's a matter of, again, network, research, ask questions, knock on doors. But yes, you can make solid money there. Again, it's just depending on how good of contracts you can find, how good of local companies can you find. And me personally, if I was trying to do a local gig to where I was home every night, I'd be looking into a box truck, probably a 24-foot box truck. That's what I would do. That seems to be the easiest means of finding local freight or freight to neighboring states that you can get home every night. Maybe you might have to spend an overnight here and there, but pretty much you can be home every night. And I say that confidently if you had yourself a box truck, a small straight truck, a 24-foot straight truck, or 26-foot, I think is what they are. I apologize. Straight truck is not my cup of tea either, but I see the freight, and I see a lot of the people that are in these straight trucks. So, and those are the easiest. Those are doing a lot of the airport runs, which is a lot of stuff, the Amazon stuff, the UPS, FedEx, that are the Lowe's, the Home Depots that are subcontracting out, freight to haul. So, yeah, that's the answer to that. Yes, I can't give you a dollar amount, but I can tell you that yes, if you have the right combination of things that you can put together, you can make a good living and be able to be home every night if you choose to be. Me personally, that's not what I want. I like being over the road. Yes, there's times I'd like to be home more, but overall, I enjoy being on the road. I enjoy the lifestyle of living in a van, as corny as that sounds. So to me, this fits me. Somebody else that doesn't want to be gone, box truck, a small, Transit Connect or something, or even a minivan, you could probably make a living doing it. But yeah, you can definitely find it locally. All right, guys, that's all the questions I have to answer for tonight that I screenshot. So if you have any questions that you want my opinion on and an answer from me for feel free to put it in the description. Email me. There's several of you guys that have emailed me, and I'm trying to get up on the emails. I apologize for my snail's pace at replying to these emails. Emails are a little harder for me to reply to, just because most people that are emailing me, they're pretty in-depth questions, and I just have a lot going on. It's really tough to take the attention span to spend that much time on each individual email. That's kind of what I plan to do tonight. I'm going to try to get back to some of these people in these emails. Hopefully I'm not too late for them. Comments are a little easier to get to. I know a lot of people ask for my phone number. I'm just always on the phone a lot, man. I want to give you guys the help. I really do. I'm just really strapped for time. But that doesn't mean don't ask, man. Just please ask. Just don't feel like I'm, ignoring you. I guess I am to an extent, right? But I'm not doing it in a negative way. I'm just really full schedule-wise. So thanks for tuning in. Hit the like, subscribe, share, comment. Please do all the things. If you like the channel, help support the channel by doing all those things. I've mentioned before, it's good for the algorithm. It helps get this information out. And, you know, like everybody else says, even if you don't like it, hit it. That even helps with the algorithm. It says, hey, this is just a lot of interaction going on here, whether it's good or bad. All right, guys, I'm out.